This episode of PDX Spotlight is brought to you in association with Portland Radio Project.
Hey everybody, this is Logan Lynn. You're watching PDX Spotlight.
Welcome to PDX Spotlight. I'm your host, Luke Neill, and tonight on the show we have recording artist Logan Lynn. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about the album that's coming out and kind of what you're going to be doing on tour. But first, let's give our viewers kind of a snapshot of your musical history.
Okay. You want me to talk about it?
Yeah.
Or just like show pictures?
It's a brief history.
Yeah, so I was a DJ in the Midwest. I had a fake ID and went to rave parties in the late 90s. I'm going to say late mid-90s in Kansas City. And, I moved out here in 96. My family had moved out here before, and I was kind of following them around to build relationship with them after it had been kind of severed, and moved out here. I went to the City nightclub. It was 1996. I was 16. Went to this all-night gay bar that was like, all ages for whatever. I think it was pre-OLCC. I recall there being alcohol. Potentially I snuck that in. But I went there and I remember thinking like, oh my God, this is like where I belong. And I had never felt like that growing up in the Midwest. I had never felt free to be myself. And so I had that experience here, and I moved out here right after that. Started going to La Luna. La Luna was an old nightclub in town that was every Tuesday night there was a queer night. It was also underage, I think. Either underage or I was just still using my fake ID. But at any rate, I met people just that first week, like Elliott Smith and Dan Reed and Zia from the Dandy Warhols, and started just hanging out there. Then I was the doorman there, and then I made a bedroom sort of demo of my breakup at the time. I was 17 years old, and gave that to Elliot, and he gave that to someone else, and I eventually started playing weird little shows in Portland as a teenager, and people started listening. That record was called Glee. It came out in 2000, and I was young. I was like a minor. I didn't necessarily have anybody looking after me, and so it was the kind of exposure that I don't think I really wanted. And so I took a 5-year break after that, kind of like USA Today wrote that it was one of the top 100 rainy day records of all time. And I was like, quit looking at me and quit. And then 5 years later, the Postal Service came out, Ben Gibbard's band. It was his electronic project.
Fantastic.
And before that, people had been like, what is this guy doing? And then when they kind of hit and became really popular, there was like a cultural reference point for my earlier work. And Dandy Warhol's at that point, I'm sure just out of the goodness of their hearts, not anything to do with like making money off of me, signed me and put out all of my previous catalog on Caroline EMI. And then I was on their label for 3 years doing a major label deal that was incredibly unpleasant, and eventually had another sort of like, I'm out of here in 2010, and quit the label and fired my publicist and fired my manager, and was like, I'm gonna go work at Q Center. And did that overnight, went and just started volunteering for LGBTQ advocacy, and over the years that I was there, started really kind of finding my voice as an advocate around mental health, around racism, undoing racism, around LGBTQ youth equality, and I felt like I kind of was a human again. And at that point I was able to start doing music, right? It's like this, I quit, I don't feel like a human, I'm a thing, everyone's selling me, and then I get to a place where I feel well and happy and start writing songs again. So I put out a record in 2012, and we toured, we did a mental health tour where we raised money for different mental health organizations in each of the cities we went to, and then I came back and I started doing work for Cover Oregon. I was kind of partially responsible for some of those goofy ads, and then I got poached to go do Keep Oregon Well. I started that with Trillium. So the music stuff has been throughout. I've on some level always used it as a therapeutic tool.
I like the way you sound before you
just released your 8th studio album, and everything you just talked about, during that time, you were dealing with mental illness.
It was.
So how has that translated into your art, and how has that benefited you from a healing standpoint?
Sure. Well, I experienced early childhood abuse pretty intensely, and went really early on deep into drugs and alcohol, and got clean in 2008. I'm about to have 9 years clean here in this coming March. And throughout, like I always sang when I was actively addicted or using. I sang about that. I also had some really very public overdoses and shows. And so it was always my mental health or my behavioral health struggles were always present. And then when I got well and I started exploring healing in my life, I also started exploring healing in my songs. And so I had a mental health breakdown, pretty terrible one, in 2012, right after my record had come out. My dog died, and my struggle has always been that I want it to stop, right? Like, it's not necessarily that I want to die. Sometimes I do, but my mental health condition is suicidal ideation, persistent suicidal ideation, wanting to stop things. And so this last round, I decided not to kind of blow my life up, and instead locked myself in my house and sang and screamed and talked into my phone, into these voice notes, and captured what eventually became Adieu.
When did you make that decision? Because there's a lot of artists who will just hide behind their art.
Sure.
You've done the opposite. How do you get to that place?
I think I wouldn't have been very successful at the other. I think early on I was pretty clear that the only way I could maneuver in the world, certainly as a public figure or as a person who was sharing himself with the world in sort of intimate ways, was to make sure that was the same person throughout. And so if I was using, at the time when I was a cokehead, I was like very publicly a cokehead, and when I wasn't, I'm now very publicly not. But it's not like an image thing. And I don't know that it was a decision. I think it was just a byproduct of being public from such an early age. I mean, I've been public more years than not. And so, that looks like this.
What a good example for more artists to do.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly has had benefits for me, and also, Wikipedia and the internet is like forever, and I often, especially in mental health advocacy world, or if I'm gonna go testify with the CDC in DC or something like that, like I often am like, oh my God, right? They're gonna Google me, and so I lead with like, it's all true, right? Like, I don't have any skeletons. I'm out about my mental health. I'm out about my gayness. I'm out about my past and my present. And I'll be out about my future too, just because I don't have the skill set to be multiple people.
I was the one
Logan, I want to welcome Gino Mari with us here.
Gino.
He's your great collaborator.
He is.
So how long have you been writing music together and producing together?
Well, I've been engineering his vocal recordings for a while now, but writing music, this is the first record where I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Well, our friends at Vortex Music Magazine said, "Sex, dogs, and mental health. After years of translating emotional hardships into musical coherence, Logan Lynn's grief has opened the door to creating something beautiful as he returns with his 8th studio record, Adieu."
They did say that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Nice of them.
Super nice.
I would agree. I've spent some time with the record, and it is just an open book. There's this nice juxtaposition between the indie pop sound that's so catchy, and then when you spend time with your music, there's the depth there, and it's almost the opposite. Do you find that maybe you have to write that type of background music to address these things?
I never thought of it like that. I always looked at it as, let's just make the most honest record we can. Like, what is like the genesis of where you fell in love with music, you know, and like how do we get that to be the backdrop to what the stories are, what the songs are.
I mean, I had written all of the songs a cappella, as far as my vocal and my melody. All of that was taken from those voice notes and brought to Gino to sort of make sense of. And so when he says, like, going back to when I first loved music, he's talking about the instrumental piece. Before he dug in to really fill those songs out, he took like 100 of my favorite records of all time and listened to them. And some of them he already had, but he really spent time with, like,
For sure.
Liz Phair and the Innocence Mission and
Sundays.
all Sundays and all these bands that he knew for years I had been influenced by. I think he wanted to also be influenced by the same things. You know, it's an interesting thing to be writing music for someone else's sort of story or songs, and so he was the first producer ever in 18 years to take the time to really get to know not just what I was trying to do, but who had sort of emboldened me to do it.
It's kind of your musical context.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll bring this question back to you, but Gino, what does Adieu mean to you? What does this record mean to you?
It's huge. I mean, it's about, like I said before, it's about being as honest as possible. And so being able to accept what life gives you and find a way through it is basically what the record is, you know, for me at least.
Yeah.
And congratulations to you. I have no idea how you would take 100 voice memos of melody ideas and compose something out of it. That's
One by
awesome.
one.
How about you, Logan? What does this album mean to you?
I think it's the record I've been trying to make this whole time. You know, it really matters to me. I didn't, part of our struggle in making it was he was pushing me outside of all comfortable sort of zones. And so I haven't done that before. I always have had the same sort of lyrical content, as far as, like, not a lot of bells and whistles or smoke and mirrors there, but everything else was always bells and whistles and everything else was always smoke and mirrors. And so this was the first time where it felt raw, and I was scared, and a lot of them I didn't want to release even. Like, I mean, it was a process, and which is why it took 4 years to get it out. You know, a lot of it was getting me brave enough to let people hear it.
Now that you're looking forward to the rest of this year in 2017, how do you expect the songs are going to translate live? Because it's always kind of a different ballgame.
Well, better than we had. Like, it seems easier than trying to translate my techno dance party music into something live. I mean, he was always struggling with, like, how do we make this not just like a karaoke thing?
Yeah.
And this has a lot more dynamics. There's a lot more soft sections. There's a lot more space. There's a lot more ability to improvise and do things that, you can't do when you hit play on a backing track.
Right, right.
I think I Am Like a Dog Now is a perfect example of that. That's one of the first songs I gravitated toward on the record.
Me too.
What's your favorite song on the record, if you had to choose one right now?
I have had different ones throughout. I really like Before the Truth Comes Out. I think that one's, I feel like Belinda Carlisle when I sing that for some reason. I guess that's a good thing. I'm into
Go-Go's,
it. Yeah, it's super go-go's. And I wrote this song, Wandering the Kingdom, about my dad and my family's journey out of the church and back together as a family unit. And so that, I like that one. It's hard to listen to. I'm Like a Dog Now is really tough for me. I am just recently able to do that without just completely, like, crying and running off stage. So I think that's the spot that he wants me in, and I've been working towards living in that spot, but it's hard. You know,
Yeah.
the thing about this record or these stories is that I'm still feeling this stuff. It's not like a relationship that ended and I'm mad at him and I'm getting some kind of revenge. It's like I really am still processing this grief, and this record is kind of helping me do that.
Well, you've got big things coming this year. The record's amazing. I'm sure the fans are going to receive it really well. So we want to thank you for being here. But before we let you go, where can the fans reach you online?
LoganLynnMusic.com. Then there's links to Twitter and YouTube and everywhere from there. We're everywhere.
Perfect, yeah. Find them on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan Lynn.